Welcome to M Squared TechCast.
And we're with Rick Thompson, and he's filling in this month for Matt Roush, who's out with surgery recovery. And Rick is an expert in the topics that we are exploring today, which is cannabis. And introduce your guest.
Well, we have Ryan Basore joining us for our second segment of the day here. Ryan was one of the pioneers in the Michigan cannabis industry. In 2009 and 2010 and 2011 was a member of the Michigan Association of Compassion Centers and launched Capital City Caregivers, which is one of the first functioning dispensaries in the state of Michigan, right in Lansing, right on Michigan Avenue. Ryan, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, guys.
You know, in addition to your history, you have made some current news recently with receiving a social equity grant from the Gage Cannabis Company. Before we talk about that, let's discuss a little bit about your history. You had a little bit of a rough road and ended up running afoul with the law.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tell us about that.
So when I quit a good career, as many of us did early on, to get into cannabis, I was all in, opened Capital City Caregivers, and then I went ahead and helped find 3 buildings that we outfitted and leased to 3 caregivers, had the Ingham County prosecutor approval, state police walked through, and the local police saying we were good to go. About 7-8 months later, we got raided by the DEA, the National Guard, and
National Guard too.
Black Hawk troops, guns out of the sky, smoke bombs. And this was this is the end of 2010. It was the first federal Michigan medical marijuana raid that had happened after Holder and Obama had said that they wouldn't do it. But I ended up getting 4 years in federal prison. Ooh. And, 6 of us got time. There were 7 of us. And
everything was perfectly legal when you did it, and then some politician changed their mind, huh?
Oh, yeah, I could get into that, but it was 2010, and in 2014, while I was in prison, they passed the Robacher-Farr Amendment, essentially defunding the DEA to $1 per legal state or medical legal state, and then the raids pretty much stopped, but just a little bit too late for me.
Oh, wow.
And you were instrumental in advancing our cannabis industry when it was just in its infancy. When you came out of federal prison, you took it easy for a while because that was the requirement based on the Bureau of Prisons. But then you decided to get right back into it. You started working with some of the organizations here and got involved in the campaign to elect Dana Nessel. Isn't that correct?
That is right. I when I got out of prison, I was in the halfway house, and I was lucky enough to work with my good friend, attorney Bob Dory, and that led me to be able to, under his company, work on some of the issues that I was passionate about. Got back in with MI Legalize in 2015 and developed, which is going to help me with my, I knew it would help with further business, but taught myself how to build websites, do internet marketing and social media, and worked with a lot of my old cannabis friends and then new businesses as well.
And after that, you took a position initially with the Michigan Cannabis Industries Association, and through some of the connections you made with the National Cannabis Industry Association, you became familiar with Gage Cannabis Company's principles. Is that right?
Yeah. Early in January, Robin Schneider had been talking to me for months about forming an association, and felt like it was time, and it was a good time in my life to do it. How I met the guys at Gage, I was actually introducing them, showing them a building in Lansing about a year and a half ago that I was consulting with these guys, and they came in and took a good long look at buying it. But I was the first big company that knew who I was and knew what happened, and they showed a lot of respect. And they also, I could tell, loved cannabis, and they loved the culture. Now their culture is they're a little more urban than what I'm, than my, culture. I grew up in Dansville on the farm, but it shone through. I liked the guys, and ended up, working out to a great situation, I think.
Now you're an entrepreneur on your own. You've started something called Redemption Cannabis in association with those same Gage guys. Explain how that worked out.
Well, as we were, I did a little bit of consulting for them, and one of the owners just said, "Hey, whenever you're ready to do something to give back and get a project, we'd love to support it." And part of Redemption is part of the proceeds of every sale basically is going to go to a nonprofit we're starting, and to help the people affected by the war on cannabis, whether they're still in, put money on their commissary. helping, their families at Christmas, or just trying to rebuild your life. Because when, out of most of the people I was in the halfway house with in Kalamazoo are back in prison. So I just know how hard and how big the odds are stacked against you. So I wanted to do that. And, I've been lucky enough to have the relationships with 3 great growers that came up in the caregiver system, that are licensed under the MMFLA and passing testing, great craft cannabis. And, just through the last 10 years of our lives together, they wanted to work with me on this. So, I'm coming into a situation where I'm going to have a lot of flower and there's a large shortage. So I'm liking the first year's chances, and I'm going to just do everything I can to make sure it's a success and help those guys.
Let me leap in on the next question, since this is more near and dear to my heart. So you use a lot of information technology for your outreach. Talk a little bit about what you're doing in that space.
Well, so I learned a lot about it, and about 3 years ago, reading about it in prison, and then just staying up all night long watching YouTube videos. How do you gain followers? Search engine optimization. So I've been out of it in the last couple of years. So I know, like, if you're out in 2 years, the world can pass you by in a heartbeat. But I have a good understanding and a good framework, and I've set it up for other companies, just as far as using, making sure that they're, getting to the front of Google, or, engaging the audience the correct way to gain good followers, and working all that together. So I'm just looking at it as a background, and at first I'll be doing my own, but to find the right person to help me with it, it's gonna help. I feel like I'm educated enough to make educated decisions and not fall for some snake oil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things social media has taught us is that video is a format that's much more popular than still photography is at this point. And you've launched a series of videos in order to support Redemption and to introduce to your customer base the concept of bringing specialized growers in just to support Redemption. Talk a little bit about that.
So, Rick was helped me with my video. It was a great job. It's completed, and the website is just about done. I'm just finishing some editing and getting ready to do basically maybe a PR release to let people actually know what I'm doing, what the concept is, what they can expect, and the types of people that I'm working with. I talk about this stuff 24/7, and I feel like there's a lot of what I call test tube businesses out there. They go into a branding company and say, "Hey, I want to make a lot of money selling marijuana. Make me cool and tell me what to say and think." And Michigan's different than other states. We're rabid, and we love cannabis, and we've been doing it a long time. We see through a lot of that. So, I'm just really trying to bring, instead of making up a concept, I want to feature the people growing the cannabis, their families, their company, why they're doing it. What they've all got a great story to tell.
We call them human interest stories, but those are very popular. So
yeah, and that's the way we've done it. I always known who's growing my cannabis. It's important to me, and why they're doing it, how they're growing, what they're using, how they found their strains, just that, and along with a couple of the processing partnerships that I'm developing as well. So putting a face on it, and I feel like this next year, with just the way the market's gone, it's going to be actually the year of the little guy, the agile mobile guy who's producing a product and doing good business, while most people are struggling to figure out how to even open stores.
And we see a lot of times some of the commercial entities that just are a logo, and you never actually see the faces behind leadership, management, or especially cultivation. And with cannabis being such a consumer item, you consume every single thing you get. It seems like knowing who crafted that cannabis could be a market advantage for you. Something that you mentioned was unique in Michigan's system.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to be working with the people that I'm working with. Rick knows pretty well, knows very well, but there's plenty of stories of even the last 2-3 years of my life of working with people and not going well. There's a lot of that going on, but just even getting screwed out of businesses. So this is an opportunity for me to reset and just work with people that I like to work with and are happy to be around.
Yeah, I've had lots of business partners over the years, and some of them we're still talking, but, things happen.
Yeah,
But,
It does.
so let's talk a little bit about when we're going to see some of your products in the stores. Is that soon?
It's soon. Right now, we're finishing up the logos and the packaging and getting close to ordering that. And I would expect it to be safe middle of January, and we'll hit the ground running from there.
I know you mentioned your website's not complete yet, but what would the address be when it is complete for people that listen to this podcast in the future?
www.redemptioncanna.com. And
Is there a placeholder or something there? If it'll just say
nope, nothing yet.
under construction.
Yeah, under construction. It's coming soon. I want to, I'm definitely taking a patient approach of doing this right and not try to. I'm just going to try to do everything right the first time and do it, comfortable and steady.
You smiled through the whole interview. It's clear that you're excited about this opportunity, and Michigan welcomes you back into the fray, man.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question. Do you have an email address they can reach out to you at?
It's ryanb@redemptioncanna.com.
Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.